I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
Tomorrow night, I'm gonna smash your boy, guys.
My balls was hot.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Is he fucking awesome? Yes, welcome to a new episode of Buiten de Kooi, the #1 MMA podcast in the Netherlands. As you can see, I have my big friend Bas Rutten again in the show, third time in a row. Bas, first of all, thank you very much for always making time for us as Buiten de Kooi. How are you doing, man?
Doing great, doing great. I think I picked something up in Holland actually last week, and I brought it back home. But it's starting to get out of my system now, so I'm good.
That's good to hear. Hey, Bas, I see you've been busy lately with karate combat and traveling around. Can you take me in what keeps you busy these days?
It's a lot. Oh, let me see. So in February, I had my 60th birthday party on the 24th. No, so 2 days before that, I was in Arizona for a charity event. Did my birthday on the 24th. On the 25th, I went to Colorado to do karate combat. From Colorado, I went to New York to do another show over there. Then I came home for a day and a half, and I went to Holland. And then I just came back 4 days ago. So that's a little bit of my schedule. It's insanity. Right now, I'm going to be home for a bit, though. So that's a good thing. I got something to drive here, but that's okay. But I'm not going to book anything anymore. I said, this is it for now. Because at the end of April, it's back to Dubai for karate combat. Yeah, okay. And actually, Tyrone Spong is going to fight there. So that's going to be, I'm looking forward to that one. Know. Yeah.
Against, what's the name? What's the guy
Sam
name?
Alvey.
Yeah, Sam Alvey.
Heavyweight, yeah.
I think it's a tough fight for Sam Alvey.
Oh, this is the thing, and I talked to Tyrone also, and I said the same thing to Sam. You know, this is what Sam Alvey is very deceptive. You know, he's acting like he's slow. Don't fall for that stuff because suddenly out of the clinch, puff, he knocks a lot of people out. And Tyrone is also, you know, he's nice and relaxed. I was there with Tyrone when he was hilarious. It was for the World Series of Fighting, I believe. He dropped the guy for an 8 count, and he walked back to his corner. Yeah. And the guy, everybody started screaming, no, keep going. There's no 8 count in mixed martial arts because he was used to it, of course, from kickboxing. It was hilarious. So he said he's not going to make that mistake again. But it's one of those fights that you know that technically, of course, Tyrone is one of the best on the planet. It's very hard to beat that guy. The thing with Sam Alvey, though, is it's weird. He hits weird. He aims, and boy, there's power behind the punch. So he only has to connect. That's the problem.
I know, but the last time I saw Tyrone fight was when now I've seen him fight a couple of times lately, but the last time I saw prime Tyrone was before he got the injury, the huge injury. I was always wondering, okay, how does he come back from that, and does it affect him in his fighting? And you saw a little more the boxing instead of the throwing the chopping legs. But it's still, technically, I think he's one of the biggest fighters we have seen from the Netherlands or Suriname. Or amazing fighter.
Amazing fighter. You know, the fast low kicks. I was always afraid that it would happen with Jose Aldo. He throws it the same, you know. What they do, they don't put in their hips. So they hit with the flat part of the shin. And it's much faster. That's why they do it. The problem is if you have a good person who knows how to check the correct way and you kick it, you break your shin. Anderson Silva broke his shin like that. And now you see Tyrone also break his shin like that. So that's the only thing you have to watch out for, you know. And I was always worried with Jose Aldo because my stance would be completely an open stance against Aldo. So I just have to lift my knee a little bit up. And he's going to kick just below my knee with that hard part. Yeah, I'm going to win. My shin is going to beat that shin. I guarantee you that. It's very dangerous.
I believe you, Bas. I believe you. Hey, Bas, last time we talked, you also told me about the cooking show you were busy with. How did that go? Will we see Chef Bas on TV or on YouTube?
No, listen, I've been so crazy busy. It has been so insane. I'm getting now the rights to an intro from James Brown, The Boss, the song. I paid the cost to be the boss, and since it sounds like me, Boss, B-O-S-S, it's kind of cool to use it as an opening, so I just need 32 seconds. But we're in the process of getting the rights to it in order to do it. And then the show is called Itadakimasu, which means bon appetit in Japanese, but it has a deeper meaning. It also gives thanks to the produce, the animals, everybody involved in preparing the meal, so also the animals and the produce and everything else. it's a respect thing to that, and that's a very basic concept. It's just me with a DJI camera, and there's no lighting. We sit in a restaurant, we just eat. We eat, and nobody has an idea that we're filming something, because we don't have to speak loud. We have to speak like we speak right now, and we just have dinner, and that's the podcast, you know. So before that, I wanted to start cooking, but it's so hard with my crazy schedule, you know. Karate Combat, we have a bunch of shows. Now we have our own studio. They're building it right now in Miami, so we're going to have a home base. That means 6 shows out of the year, we're going to have a home base, which is Miami. That's big for me, because it's only 2 hours and 20 minutes for me by flight.
That's nice.
You see, but going to freaking Singapore and Dubai and to China and to, you know, these are 20-hour flights. And I don't know about you, but I can't sleep on a flight. So that's me bored out of my freaking mind for 20 hours, because all the preparation for the show, that's the first hour, and I'm done pretty much, because I still have to interview all the fighters, and the real preparation I can do over there, you see. So it's that unfortunately I can't do it. I don't have to cut with Karate Combat, and I don't want to cut with them.
No, I get it, man. I think you're a great ambassador for Karate Combat. What you do, what you show, and still a lot of fighters have a lot of respect for you. I was and press also, because I was in London for UFC London, and I was sitting backstage with the press, and I told them, tomorrow Monday I will have the podcast with Bas, and they were like, Bas Rutten, and I was like, Bas Rutten. They said, how? I said, it's the third time. They said, oh, really? He's a legend. So you're still a legend of the game. And, Bas,
nice.
It's amazing what you're doing. So
that's always good to hear. Yeah, because you never know, right? You have some of these fighters that started losing a few fights, and then suddenly the public spits them out. I go like, dude, these guys were great fighters. I was just blessed that I had freaking injuries, thankfully, because otherwise I would have been that knucklehead as well. I would have kept on fighting, because I liked it way too much. And you're going to lose. You are going to lose eventually, because you're fighting guys half your age. You know,
Talking about that, that's a great intro, because I wanted to ask you this. We saw Leon Edwards lose for the second time in a row after becoming a champ. We saw Adesanya lose a couple of times now. We see Kamaru Usman losing a couple of times. Do you think that's the age, or what's the reason these guys start losing, even though they don't look bad?
It's the blueprint is broken, so to say, right? It's like now they know how to attack your opponent. Oh my God, who am I flipping out now? Adesanya, last fight, Adesanya. And I've always been saying, if you fight a great striker, you got to push. So the downfall is you're going to need a lot of oxygen, you know, a lot of stamina. You got to focus stamina only and be in his face the whole freaking time. Oh, sorry, not Adesanya, Pereira. But that was what happened, because Pereira always moves forward. So if you can push him backwards, and sure, it's going to be hard in the beginning, because he's such a freaking athlete and a great striker. And if you get caught, you get caught. But you got to roll the dice here, because otherwise you're not going to win it. And this guy just keep coming forward. And that's every striker. For every striker, it's hard to fight backwards. Are there strikers who can do it? Yes, there are really good strikers who can do it. Move backwards but still have the feet on the ground at the moment of impact. Those things are very important, because if you stand on one leg, you can put your body weight in a punch. Now, okay, you can knock him out with an arm punch, of course, but that needs to be much harder than. You see, so there's a lot of downs and ups. The best thing is push him backwards, put him on his heels, and that's the way you beat a guy like that. And that's why he lost. And now you're going to see every other person is going to do exactly that. But the good part about this game is, of course, he's got to take Shara and all these other great coaches in his corner. They're going to start building a new game plan. Now let's move to the side. Let's do something. They will find an answer, of course, because otherwise he's going to keep on losing. And then for other fighters, most of the time when they get knocked out, you see them when they get knocked out, then they start losing. And until then, they've been winning, and I think that's just in the habit. Even so with Tyson, we see it with all the Vanderlei Silva, all these great fighters who don't win or don't lose, and suddenly once they get stopped, I think it's kind of a confirmation that they're human, and then they realize, wait a minute, I'm just a regular human like everybody else, and sometimes that can get inside your head. Now, the only guys that doesn't get it inside their heads, and I actually just talked about it because I was talking to Peter Ertz, his writer, because they're writing a book about Peter.
Yeah.
And the K1 guys, they don't have that. I mean, you look at the K1 guys, like Peter gets knocked out and then he goes on to win the whole freaking tournament that same year. It's almost like they can simply shake it off and they go to the next fight. It's completely erased from their memory and they just perform really well again. And that's literally, if you look at all the organizations, I truly believe that K1, Glory, all these organizations are the only one when people get knocked out and then come back and win the whole thing again.
But do you think that's also, so you say it's mentally with MMA fighters, but like Khabib also talked about it once. He said eventually you'll lose. And you said it again. You said it also. So do you think you have to have a right timing to quit, like retire? I mean, because quitting is something else, but retire because Khabib decided, okay, I will retire. And also he said eventually even I would have lost. So where do you think, is it completely mentally, or is it also the age, or?
It's complete everything is mental. It's 100% mental. In order for you to make the decision to go out of bed for a workout, that's mentally made, So I always say everything is mental. Habib did a very smart thing because he knew eventually, yes. So he probably already realized in working out that certain things he couldn't do anymore that he could do before, And for him, it was not a problem. He could fight like 6 more fights on that because he's freaking Khabib. He's just really freaking animal, But once you start feeling that you're losing a certain thing, you got to make that decision. And for him, well, money-wise, it's okay because that money is a lot worth over there. And for his legends, I mean, the guy goes in history forever. I mean, over 1,000 years, he's still the guy who was undefeated. Nobody can say that, right? Yeah. So in boxing, you have a few, but in MMA, well, he would be the first one, for what I believe. Sure, there's some fighters now that are undefeated, but they didn't fight the caliber that he fought. That's what I'm talking about. So that's a smart decision, but it's a hard decision as well because I know how he lost fighting. Like when my neck injuries, and if I see people sparring or rolling, oh, dude, I miss it so much. The ground especially, because every day you find something new out. It's a game you never master. You always learn, and it's such a cool game. But I have 4 neck surgeries, 4 plates in my neck. I can't take the risk, If I get cross-faced a certain way by accident, that could be a big problem for me. So unfortunately, I can't do it anymore. And the fighters who love it so much, like a Coleman, like even Fedor Emelianenko, he doesn't need to fight, but he still loves fighting, Dan Severn, he was 56 and winning, the freaking guy. I mean, there's such a crazy people out there that keep on fighting, but unfortunately, some of them start losing. And then it tarnishes their career. That's how it goes.
And would you say, as an MMA fighter, you should also know when it's time to stop, even though you love the sport so much? For example, you talk about yourself with your injuries. You could have kept fighting, but then, you don't know what would happen with your body. Is that a hard decision for an MMA fighter? Because I'm not an MMA fighter, so it's hard to talk about it. But is that a hard decision?
It's a very hard decision. It's the only thing. How do I say? It's a lot of people who have also ADD or ADHD who are fighters. A lot of them. And I guarantee you, they will all tell you the same thing. Once you're in a high action-packed sparring session or fight, that's when we're the most calm. That's finally when every outlet gets stopped. I don't hear any other noise coming in. So for me, that's the most peaceful I can be at sparring. Because there is no time for me to think about anything else because I'm going to get hit in the face. You got to be focused. And that cuts all the noise off. So for me, it was very hard because if you go into my mind, like when I'm talking to you, there's 3 other stories going on right now. It's constantly all over the place and it drives me completely insane unless you find something like juggling, something that is hard to attain, but it is possible. And if you can find something like that, that is a great way to keep your mind off all the noise. So if juggling is for you, when you want to meditate, unfortunately, you're going to have to start juggling. Because meditation and just sitting still is a very hard thing to do.
I find funny what you say because I have ADHD. So when I was recording the podcast, because Sammy stopped, he had busy with work, so he couldn't manage it with the podcast. But when we would record together, he would notice when I was thinking about something else during talking. So I was talking, I was already thinking, okay, so this has to be the next question. Or wait, what am I going to eat for dinner tonight? I still have to go to the... So,
yep,
I get it.
Yep.
Hey, Bas, we talked a lot about your career, but there's still a treasure we haven't talked about. One of the things I wanted to talk about the last time, we got busy, so now I want to talk about it this time. When I look at your career, you were almost unbeatable. Like what you've done, what I said, you're a legend, and the way you changed sport in that time, I think a lot of people respect that. They respect it so much that they started to train some fighters only to beat you. So I'm talking about Kengo Watanabe. He was trained to beat you. And I think it was before you would go to the UFC. It was your last fight, and after that you would go to the UFC. Can you take me to that journey? How was it for you, and what happened for you when you went into that fight, and when you heard it's a fight made to beat you?
Yeah, that really got me angry. So what happened was this. I fought Funaki. I knocked Funaki out. That was my biggest fight for me because I lost to him. My very first fight, I lost to him. Then the only one I didn't set the record straight was Ken Shamrock. When he came to Pride, I told him, I said, listen, I'm going to come out of retirement. I want to fight him. But he didn't want to take the fight. So unfortunately, I couldn't set that straight. But Funaki was also one of them. So I stopped him. Now, originally, I don't know what happened before, but we have it in a comic. They actually made a comic out of this whole story. So he was already training with Funaki. And that's the story in the comic. And I have that comic. Then he's training. Funaki really likes him. He's an ex-professional rugby player from Japan. He's 6'3", so he's a tall guy. He's a big guy. You know, and Funaki really likes him, and he starts training with him. But then, since he loses to me, this guy vouches that he wants to fight me, although I just left the organization because I was going to go to the UFC. But he wants to fight me, so Funaki starts training him. He starts training him, specifically for me. Kind of they knew. So one day, out of the blue, they call me in September. Now, I was slated to fight Randy Couture in October. 98, I think. 98 or 97. I think 98. I was supposed to fight Randy Couture. In September, they called me. Maybe the month before, August. And they said, hey, the attendance is going less. We really need you as the star power to get back in, and hopefully get more people in. Would you want to fight for us? I go, when? He goes, September. I go, that's a month before I'm fighting freaking Randy Couture. It's Randy Couture. It's a tough guy. You know, I'm going to fight him. I say, if I hurt my hands or something happened, it's not going to be good. So they said, no, we'll fight an opponent for you. Okay. Yeah, well, actually, I think that was the first time it came for me. I said, listen, if you give me a guy who's not freaking ranked like crazy, you know, because, you know, I do this out of the goodness of my heart. I don't need to do this, right? It's a very dangerous thing for me to do, fighting for a UFC title against Randy Couture while I'm getting injured in this fight. So they said, okay, no, don't worry about it. We'll pick for somebody. So I got a guy. Never heard of him, like you said, Kengo Watanabe. And then the day before the fight, I'm walking on the street with Guy Metzger. And Guy Metzger goes to me, he says, hey man, the guy you're fighting is a really tough guy. I go, what do you mean? He says, they specifically trained him for you. I go, whoa, what? And he explained me this whole story. And I go, oh, so now I'm getting pissed. So I told myself I was going to take him down. And it was the first time in my life I was going to go for a takedown. I never did a takedown. Take him down, and I just submit the guy so I spare my hands. I know nothing gets hurt. But now I want to knock him out. Because now they double-crossed me, and I said, okay, this is it. And for all the people who want to see my very worst fight, watch that fight. That's a fight when I tell all my students to watch when you fight on emotion. And there you can see, I mean, I'm losing my balance. I'm hitting so out of the park so hard. Yes, I'd knock him out. But a good guy, he might have beaten me because I let my emotions work for me. They just clouded my mind, and I just started brawling like I used to do in Thai boxing. There was no game plan. The game plan was knock him out. You know, and normally I never fight like that. So that's the fight I always show. Watch that fight, because that's when you fight on emotions. Try to keep the emotions away. Thankfully, I pulled it off. But that was the story.
And after the fight, when you knew the story about them training him to beat you, did you talk about it with the organization? Like, guys, what the hell's going on?
No, there was one moment that I did something that I didn't do before. I knocked him down, and he's on the ground. And before the referee jumped in, I hit him again. And those are things I normally never did. I just walk away, let him give his time. So I hit him, and right away the owner from Pancras is there in the corner. And he says, please, Mr. Rutten, calm down. And I say, you started this shit. I say, I'm going to go all the way now, you know, because you set me up. So that was the only thing. That was the only thing I said to him in the corner. I say, you started this crap. And that's why I'm doing this. So.
Yeah, because it's insane. I heard about the story, and I was, did they really do that to make? Yeah, they wanted you to lose, to talk about, we have the next big star, because you were of course leaving, and so business wise, I can get them. You see, because they wanted to have a new star, but in honor, I don't get it.
I really don't get it. Right away, what pops up in my mind was Coban when he fought Ramon Dekkers. Ramon destroyed him. Over 200 fights, never got knocked out. Ramon knocked him out. The whole audience, if you see that video, is the best. Like, freaking Rob came and jumps in the ring with the Dutch flag. Nobody, everybody's quiet because Koban is knocked out. So that's 6 weeks later. Now, he has injuries. I believe he had a broken hand. He had like something with his ankle. And they asked him if he please could fight. You know, they had this guy for him. You know, it was going to be an easy fight. So he does it because Ramon Dekkers is Ramon Dekkers. He just fights with a broken ankle and a broken freaking hand. And he goes there. It turns out when he comes up, it's freaking Koban. So you see, so they set him up in order for him not to train as hard. And then suddenly switch the opponent at the last moment. And now he's fighting him again. So it happens in fighting. I think it should be far away from it because I think respect is a big one, right? I mean, and especially when I read the comic about that story, for me, I go, dude, this was all pre-planned. I was 100% right. It was not even hearsay. It was just all there in pictures.
Yeah, we talked with Nicky Holske a while back, and he also told us that before he fought Doumbé for the first or second time, some people of the Glory organization told him, it's time for a new champion. That's also something I couldn't get with my mind. I was like, how do you say that to a star within your organization to say, yeah, you better lose because we want a new star? It's insane.
It's insanity, but on the other side, you know, you say that to Nicky, he's going to murder you. Like I always talk about, they always say, they call me the Bas Rutten, the Liver King. I go, Nicky Holske, dude. He way more, and that new lady, Dakota Ditcheva, oh my God. I mean, I love this lady. I mean, she's dropping people and her technique. It's and her mother used to be a world champion, right? I mean, she can fight. She's cute. She's freaking relentless. Yeah, and I love it that she's going to the body and with great technique. It's not like knees, kicks, everything. She drops everybody with body shots. So watch those two. Those are the real liver people.
But Bas, now you give me the setup to the next question because talking about liver kings, we only have one guy who has ripped someone's liver.
That's true. With that we know of.
that we know of. I mean, we don't know what happens in street fights, but, you know, I only know one guy who has ripped someone's liver. I'm talking about Jason Delucia. I know you don't have problems with a lot of people, or at least your mind is now at rest and you found your fate and everything is okay, but I heard of rumors and reading and so on that Jason Delucia is a guy you rather not talk to, or you don't want to be with the guy. But can you take me into that fight when you found out you ripped his liver, because you have to have an insane power to rip someone's liver.
Well, it's also a thing of luck, and what I'm trying to say is, first of all, he did certain things. Was really nice in your face, but certain things that he would say and then later to other people really pissed me off. Also did something with my skin. I'm not even going to go into that. But so I'm fighting him. And before the fight, I told my corner, Glovis, who's my manager, because I never had a corner, I said, I'm going to wait for 10 minutes. And after they shout 10 minutes, then I'm going to knock him out. And then during the fight, I'm just playing around. I just wanted to play around. I see and feel him out. And suddenly he does this weird move with the back fist, and the back fist connects. It's not a hard punch, but I'm stepping back and I do this, and I see it's bleeding. Now, I don't know how big the cut is, so I can't take the risk waiting for 10 minutes. I got to knock him out right now. So that's right away I went for the body shot, and he goes down. Then I drop him again. I got to say, man, I mean, I have the utmost freaking respect for Jason because he got up 4 freaking times. Like, after body shots. Try to find a person who can do more than twice. I mean, that's pretty insane for him to still get back up. And then the last punch, and this I'm always talking about breathing, right? Like my second fight, I used the breathing against my opponent. I saw him breathe. He was breathing in. And as soon as his belly came out, I kneed him and he went down. Because it's a moment when you breathe in, you're not flexing. And the punch, just this punch by itself, it will cripple you. It'll go straight through. You can do 5,000 sit-ups. It's not going to make a difference because your muscle is relaxed. You're not flexing. And that's what happened with Delucia, because I actually thought I missed him because I hit and then I thought I missed him and then he went down. And then when I saw the slow motion, and you see this in slow-mo, you see my fist, it ripples through his whole body. So he was just breathing in. He had zero flexing. So you literally see me slide through his body, and that's of course, when the liver snapped and he started peeing blood. You see, but that's the same as in my last fight with the big guy I was fighting. I saw him stepping forward, and this was not timed. Normally, I like to time these kind of things. This was pure luck. But I remember as soon as he stepped, I gave him a kick, and I literally felt my shin bone touch his thigh bone. So I heard it. I heard click, and first thing I thought, I said, I won. Because I knew now it's only one kick and the fight's over. And it was. By the way, he started limping because his muscle was relaxed. You see, so if you don't flex your muscle, whether it's on a leg or an arm or whatever, if you break your arm by a kick, that means you weren't flexing your muscles around it to keep it all tight. And it's the same with the legs, and it's the same with the body. So now I have some really great things on kicking. If somebody kicks me, I come back with body shots, because what do? When you kick, you breathe out. What do you do when you recoil? You're breathing in, your muscle is relaxed. So now I'm blocking, let's say, a right kick to the body, and while he moves back and is breathing in, I go with a straight to the solar plexus. And that punch doesn't need to be hard. It's going to be very effective. And in Holland, they did this also. I think Ramon Dekker started with it. This is a while back, guys. I'm talking 25, 30 years ago. Everybody start pushing and then a high kick, and people start dropping. Push, high kick, knockout. But sure enough, everybody started doing it. They knew it. And then I believe it was Ramon pushed and made it a low kick. And then people go like, whoa, is that effective? Dude, that is so effective. And the reason it's effective, as soon as I push you, I make you weightless. So you're not flexing your thigh muscles. Then the shin bone coming at you with a 60-pound leg, propelled as hard as you can. Yeah, that's going to go straight through. You need one or maybe two low kicks. That's it. So then everybody start doing that again. And then they start mixing it up, which is every time people find out new ways. But Dekkers, he was a genius with those kind of things.
Yeah, when we look at the Netherlands, I will talk about it later with you. I still have some questions in mind also about Dutch fighters. But we are such a small country. But if you look at the talent in athleticism, so not only fighting, but also, what's it called? The running and everything.
Yeah,
such a small country, and we get such great... Yeah, everything. So, but talking about that liver shot, Bas, when did you know that it was ripped? Like, did he tell you, or what happened? Because he stood up, like you said.
No, the last one he didn't stand up anymore. The last one was actually, it was a funny moment also. So I'm seeing him on the ground, and he's in pain, right? And he's like, he's laying on the ground with his mouth open. And I go over there for the audience, to be the good guy and shake his hand. So I shake his hand, I'm leaning over him, and right away, this is so funny. I see in slow motion, I see a drop of my blood from the cut. It goes straight into his mouth. And dude, and he's freaking out. He goes, he's like freaking, and dude, I had so much fun on the inside. I acted up. It was like, no, and it went straight into the mouth, perfect in the center. It was hilarious. So he told me later he had to go to the hospital, and because he started peeing blood, so they had to take him to the hospital because his liver. The good thing about the liver is it's the second largest organ, right, in the body. Skin is first, then the liver. I believe the heart and the brain is 3 and 4, and then but the liver recoups like a freaking maniac. Like people, alcoholics who crippled their liver till like 15% work time. If they stop, that whole freaking liver is going to come back. So it repeats. It fixes itself really well, and that I think was the good thing for Jason Delucia, that it repaired itself really fast.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about the guy anymore, but I wanted to talk about the fight because I still think it's one of the, if you look at fighting, I think it's still one of the most sick things that has ever happened in fighting. Okay, you could break a shin bone, you could break a nose, you could break a collarbone, whatever, but ripping someone's liver, Bas, I still think we should still give you the title of Liver King until someone else does it. But talking about the Dutch fighters, you wanted to say
wait a second, because this may be fun. You can Google this literally on YouTube. You go to Bas Rutten hits pig spleen, and it's from Fight Science, and where they bring in a human body and they bring in a pig spleen, and they ask me if I can break it. What do you think? I go, oh, I'll break it. And he goes, what do you mean? I say, I broke a liver in real fight, so I'm pretty freaking sure this guy's not going to be flexing, right? The muscles are not going to flex. 100% guaranteed it's going to go. And of course, it snapped. The spleen did snap, yeah. So, yeah, okay. But I'm pretty sure, a lot of people. But I have a feeling that Nicky also might have done the same kind of damage to some people.
I honestly wouldn't doubt it. And I think Dakota Dicheva also has the chance to do it. But because we talk a lot about women's MMA and that the levels are there's quite a significant difference between the top women and the lower women. And Dakota, honestly, what she's showing now, she has huge star potential, and not only star potential, she's an amazing athlete. So we got to give her the kudos.
We're trying. Karate Combat is trying, man. I hope she's going to say yes to us instead of another organization. Just stays with striking. Imagine that. We got it have her for Karate Combat. That would be something.
Yeah, I saw her. She was in London at the UFC event. She was sitting front row. So I think a lot of organizations are trying to pull her in because everybody sees the star potential. We got to be honest. Bas, talking about Dutch fighters, we talked about it a little bit the last time, but this time I want to hear from you what you think about Dutch talent, because we don't see them a lot at the moment in MMA. We, of course, have Reinier de Ridder, who's on the big stage. We had Jarno, who was in the UFC, but unfortunately, he's now back in LFL, but who knows in the future. But there's specifically one guy I know you like a lot, and you have a lot of respect for him, and I know he also has a lot of respect for you. And he's going to fight again. It's insane. I'm talking about Gegard Mousasi. Can you tell me why? Yeah, can you tell me why you enjoyed Gegard so much as a fighter?
I saw him the very first time fight at Pride Fighting Championships when I was doing the commentating. And the little subtle things that he did to trip his opponent, I thought it was, oh my God, his name, the Brazilian guy. He has a nickname always. I'll pop up in a little bit. But the way he grabbed his heels, very gentle, he tapped his heels and then he pushed him backwards, and immediately he had top position. I go, dude, that was a genius move, which I think 95% of the people didn't see what he was doing there because he just did it out of the blue. And then I started looking at his record, and then I realized he's kind of the same record that I have, almost equal by submission and by knockout. So then I started focusing on Gegard, and then I realized, the way he's two people. This is the guy, this is the blueprint you want from a person that you want to become a champion and go out there and bring people to mixed martial arts, because he's perfect in his talk. There's no profanity. There's no tattoos. He's very respectful. Took me freaking 8 times to let him stop say "u" to me. I said, please don't do that, man. Call me Bas, please. But that's how he is. He's just a very respectful guy. And that's why the whole package, I like that, the way he presents himself. And he's a freaking vicious killer if you see him. And if you meet him, he's the nicest person ever. And I always like that. That's like Peter Ernst. That's like all these, same thing. You meet Peter, you think he's a schoolboy, he has a funny job, whatever. He's a comedian, whatever he is. You'll never expect this guy is a freaking unbelievable fighter, right? Yeah. And then he just drops people with head kicks. I mean, it's insanity. That's what I like about Gegard as well. And Gegard paid attention to the grappling, because every Dutch person can do it. Why was I the first one? I have no clue. I mean, we know our striking, guys. We don't have to strike anymore. I stopped my striking completely. The only thing I did 3 times a week was Thai pads. That was the only thing. I didn't even spar. And I did 2-3 times a day, only ground. And it was the only thing. Put myself in the worst position. I lay on my back, whatever you want me to lay. And then you take any position, start. I will verse you, boom, I lay on my back, start. And the whole time, over and over. So within 6 months, nobody can hold you down anymore. You start figuring out how to reverse people and start doing things. Everybody can do this, but we all want to stay with what's comfortable for us. And especially in this stupid world right now, everything is comfort. Nobody wants to work for something. I mean, they all want what you have except your job. That's what they want. And everybody is envious on who you are, but nobody's envious on how you got there. Right? They don't, but they want to skip that step. And that's the problem right now. So people need to get off the stupid freaking phones. You know that an 18-year-old right now in America spends 93% of his free time on this thing. Think about this. Like, he's wasting his life completely. All the goals that you have, if you're not a great athlete or a musician or any artist or whatever you want to do in life, if you don't have the capability, well, you're going to be hooked to this stupid phone for the rest of your life, and that's going to be your project. At the end, you die, and that's it. I mean, come on, guys, put that stupid thing down and start making something out of your life. And don't try to cut shortcuts. Everything is shortcuts. Everything is pills, losing weight pills, heartburn pills, cholesterol pills. Everything make it easy. Nobody wants to simply work out, eat good food, and then all that shit that you have will magically disappear. And how do I know that? Because I did that. I was, when I was 42, taking pills, all kinds of shit, and I was drinking heavily, They offered me one more fight after 7 years of not competing, and I took it. And my wife goes, "You're crazy." I go, "No, I'm not, because that's going to stop me from drinking. Otherwise, I'm going to keep down this path. It is not going to go good. I know it's not going to go, So it made me stop drinking. Then I got a nutritionist. I started, and what do you know? Everything, even sleeping pills, I didn't need anything anymore by just living healthy and eating healthy. The things that you have to do. And everybody can do this. We just don't want to do it anymore because everything needs to come automatically. And that's a shame in this world. So if you really want to excel now, there's a lot of hurdles you have to fight, because everybody wants to party. Everybody wants to feed their pleasures, and you're not doing anything. That's dopamine. Dopamine is feeding your pleasure. Serotonin is when you're happiness. Serotonin goes, you're happy, and it's here, and it goes very slowly down. Dopamine is, boom, you got the full crush, and it drops again. I want that again. Yeah, but now you're going to need more for whatever you were taking. Boom, there's addiction. You see, so we're confusing pleasantness with happiness, and that's a big problem. And you know what kills dopamine? What kills serotonin? Dopamine. Yeah. So the more pleasure, the more new phones you buy, and the happier you are at that moment, you're killing your serotonin. So over time, you're going to go, the more you buy, the worse you're going to feel. It's really like that, but people don't see it. They think the more I have, the more it is. You're not going to bring anything with you. Leave memories, do something good for this world, so people remember you like that. What about that, That's unfortunately, it's a big thing right now in the world, and it's getting worse and worse. And here in America, it's even worse, because here, whatever the government tells you not to eat or drink, take that, because that's probably the healthiest thing you can get. That's how bad it is right here now. So you guys at least don't have the artificial crazy colors.
I mean, we in Netherlands have to pay a lot of tax, so that's the way we get done. Bas, I think it's funny what you said, because I recently became a dad in January, and when a woman is pregnant, everybody congratulates you, and there's this fun saying, everybody always congratulates you when you're pregnant, but they never ask how many times you got fucked before it was like that. So it's the same thing as getting somewhere. So everybody is like, "Oh, amazing! How do you do that?" But nobody ever asks, like, "How did you get there, really?" So I
it's
get
a lot of work. It's going training harder than everybody else, and you got to set your sights, and you got to do it because the other person wants you, and this is what you have to do. And trust me, then the payoff. Then if you get it, then the payoff is much better. Imagine this, that we always have this conversation. When you take a pill, and if you take that pill, you will always win your fight. And then I know people are going to say, "Oh yeah, it's great," but I'll guarantee you, within 10 fights, you're not. If you don't even have to train, don't do anything. You just pop the pill and you win the fight. There is nothing there. It's good and it's bad. If there's no bad, we don't know what good is, right? If we have to go through hard times, then we know what good is, especially if we make it. If we don't make it because of injuries or my technique was good, that should push you to start training even harder and working on all the things that you weren't good enough for in that particular fight. So then that loss actually made you a stronger fighter, if you always think like that. That's how I always thought. I never cried when I lost. I guess I have to train harder. That's what I thought. Okay, let's train harder. Simple. Now I'm a stronger fighter because of that lost fight. And then many times you see me lose a fight by a submission, and 3 fights later, I say, "What's this? You remember when I lost by submissions, that setup? Look, I'll use the same setup on this guy. And boop, and I win the fight with it." You see, so you learn from your mistakes and just keep on fighting. Don't focus too much on winning. Focus on not quitting. I think if you do that as a fighter, every other fighter will respect you. There's a lot of fighters out there who they can never be a world champion. And they look really good, but they don't have that it thing. But all the other fighters don't want to fight those freaking guys because they had to work really hard. Maybe they weren't blessed with freaking genetics, so they had to train harder than you. And those guys are hard to beat. They don't go down. They're constantly in your face. They got a lot of stamina. They want to train harder and harder. Good luck with that. And as fighters, we all know these guys. Utmost respect for them. But the guys who quit, we don't really have respect for those ones. So try always simply not to quit. Think to yourself, okay, if he's going to win this fight, he's going to have to fight for it now. Now I'm just going to do everything in my power, but I'm still going to try to win this fight. If you think like that, it's very hard to beat somebody, to just keep on pushing. but it's the doubts, it's everything, all the situations, stamina, and that comes together and then it goes wrong. So put yourself in that bad situation many times. That's what I used to do in training, and then you get used to it.
Yeah, no, honestly, I can only agree with that. It's true what you're saying. So, it's hard for me to say something about that because, I train jiu-jitsu and, of course, it's very high level, definitely. But I train jiu-jitsu and you got to keep going. But I get what you're saying with MMA fighters. Coming back to the Dutch fighters, we now have Reinier de Ridder in the UFC. That's a whole different story because we usually have the Dutch kickboxers who go to MMA and then they learn the grappling, and now we have a Dutch grappler who goes into MMA. What do you think of Reinier and his time in the UFC in such a short period? Yeah, what up, guys? Great that you're watching the episode with Bas Rutten. Quick little reminder before I send you back to the episode. Did you guys know that in the last 30 years, we men have lost 50% of our testosterone levels? That means we've become half the man we used to be. What can you do about it? You could start using supplements. One of the supplements I use is the Testo Charge from Zeppli. Zeppli is made out of completely 100% natural ingredients. It has been authorized by the authorities, so it's completely safe to use. If you have any questions, you can send them to the guys of Zeppli. They will gladly help you. If you have some questions, you could also ask them to me. I will send it to the guys. Do you want to use Zeppli? Check it out on the website, zeppli.nl or zeppli.com. With the code Buiten de Kooi, you get a little discount and you can start using your own supplements. Once again, code Buiten de Kooi for your own supplements. Let's go back to the episode. Period.
I love it. I'm always waiting and hoping somebody else is going to jump in there and wants to be the next guy. I mean, we had Oprah, we had Gegard, we had Manhoef should have done only ground. He knocked out freaking Mark Hunt. I mean, this is insanity. He doesn't need to train striking. Just train only on the ground all day long. That's what he needs to do. And then he too will start winning, because that's literally the thought I had. I said, listen, if I don't learn this game, I might win a title, but I'm going to lose it again by submission. It would be the dumbest thing there is. Why don't I learn this game? That's literally a step I made. And in the beginning, I hated it. And then you start seeing the possibilities and the endless combinations and the different setups and the counterattacks and an escape into a counterattack. And I go, oh my God, this is endless. And then you start coming up with your own submissions. Then you win a fight with your own made-up submission. You see, now it's like, whoa, this is freaking fun, to do. So, yeah, unfortunately, I missed that a lot. I wish I still could do it.
Yeah, because you're also one of the guys who did one of the hardest submissions. It's the figure 4 toe hold to a guy who said you cannot grapple.
Yeah. Oh, I beat in 1 minute and 10 seconds, and then he said I was lucky, and then I did, and I put the toe hold on him. That was actually a masterpiece. When I saw it, I go like, oh, this is so badass that I'm doing this, because I brought it with my other foot towards me, and then I got him, and that was 55 seconds or 54 seconds. I said, you want to go a third time, dude? He was a douche. I didn't really care for him that much.
Can you take me into that story, how that occurred? Like, why did he say that to you? Or was he bummed? Or what was happening? Did you have a backstory with him? Or
no, he was just envy, I think. He was the judo champion. He came to Pancras. They said he was going to be the next guy. Then he fought against Ken Shamrock. He fought half an hour, couldn't get him in a submission. Then after the Ken Shamrock fight, he did because he was slated to fight me. So then when he won, then he won a fight. He did the jump, my jump, to piss me off, and I go, and now I had to fight him. And like he said he doesn't have the submission skills. Well, people didn't know that I was going crazy at that time. I was doing 2 or 3 times a day. That's when I started winning. That's when I never lost a fight anymore, when I really started focusing on the ground. So then I got him in that lock. He said I was lucky. I said, well, I saw it, I took it, and I got you with it, so kind of it's not lucky. He said he wanted a rematch. I go, okay, we have a rematch. And then 3 fights later, I had a rematch, and that was the toe hold. That was even the faster time. No, it was under a minute instead of 1:11 or something. So and then I said, you want to go a third time? And thankfully he declined. But he might have said yes, because he was just that kind of guy. I don't know what was wrong with him. I broke my sternum one time in a fight, and it was a draw. And I asked right away for a rematch. And then after the fight, he came tell me that I was faking it. I go, okay, well, a week later, the doctor in the hospital said that it was broke. I mean, whatever. But you see, he was one of those guys who constantly, he didn't like me for some reason, I guess. Why? Well, I was a little crazy guy, but I was always very respectful to people. That's nobody can ever say that I'm not that. That's for sure.
Hey, Bas, I have a lot of questions. I have a couple more left because you're a busy guy, so I don't want to take a lot of time.
Take your time. Don't worry about it. I'm good.
That's great.
I got time.
That's great. Hey, Bas, there's also one thing, we talked about it a little bit in this podcast already, but you avenged a lot of losses. So you lost, then you came back, you won. There's only one loss you couldn't avenge. There was the Shamrock fight. Ken Shamrock, not the other Shamrock, just for the people to know. Why did you want it to avenge so much? Was it you as a fighter, you as a person, or what was happening for you or were you like, okay, I could have beat him the first time? What was the reasoning behind it?
I was, I don't know. I think also it was that I know I could beat him. My submissions suddenly got so good. I mean, I rolled with all the guys in the world. I mean, black belts. Everybody goes like, dude, where does that come from? So it was going really well. So finally, when he came, also I have to say, and that's still in my head. It was the first time I trained in Japan when I fought Ken, because I was only afraid he was going to knee bar me. So I told Funaki, who took me under his wing every day, once a day, and I said, just teach me how to defend a knee bar. Yeah. Because the rest I think I'm okay with. And he taught it a certain way that he shouldn't have taught that. You know, it's a very simple thing. If somebody's in half guard, and if I hold his leg from stepping over to a leg, there's no way that he can make a knee bar. Just hold the leg. He didn't say that. He said he's going to slide his foot over your hip, and at your hip, you want to catch the foot, and then can push him back. So we've been doing that for 3.5 weeks. And then in the fight, we're in that position. You literally see me sitting like this because I know he's going to, and he throws his leg over my head. So there was a second way to do this thing. If Funaki would have told me, hold the leg, there's nothing he can do, he should have said that. That's what I tell my students. He didn't say that. He said he's going to step over hip, which he didn't, throw it over my head. And then I find out that they go back 7 years together, these guys. They've been friends. They're doing pro wrestling, everything together. And then I start thinking, was this a setup? I mean, why wouldn't he have said, just hold the leg, right? Later, looking back on it, because now I got my grappling skills, that's what I would do. But he didn't say that. So that's also got in my head that I thought, did they set me up to be said, I need to set this straight. I need to set this straight. But then thankfully, at least Kimbo beat him. And that was a good thing for me because, well, I'm Kimbo's trainer. I know what I can do, so, and how I feel. So for me, that was a little victory as well.
Yeah, and I also heard you say, I don't need to fight him again because, you kind of let it go. I think it's partly because you saw what your student did, but I think, and was it also because you were like, it's a closed book, I'm done with it, and
it was also because he kept on fighting and he kept on losing. Yeah, and now if you look at his record, I mean, it's really not good anymore, and he really tarnished his name. But that's Ken. Ken's love for fighting. He's just like Dan Severn. He just fights. He doesn't really care if he wins or loses. Of course, he would love to win, but he just likes the fighting game, And I think for a guy like that, it's very hard to leave the sport. And then he's not going to pick simple opponents, because then he feels like a fake guy. So I think, it really tarnished his career. From the last 15 fights, he might have won one, you see. And then it's a shame. I feel bad. So once that record is there, do I really want to go after it? Yeah, and it's still now with my neck, of course, I can't. But back all the way back in 2004, I think, or 3, when he came to Pride, I was still good, and I would have held back for these injuries. That would have been a problem, and I would have loved to try it.
Yeah, I get it. Talking about your MMA career also, Bas, we know you stopped at your terms. So you decided, okay, now I'm done. You made a quick little return. We talked about it in Dutch the first time we talked, but it was in 2006. You explained it a little bit. You got a better lifestyle. Was the reason solely because you got a big bag of money, or was it also because you were like, let's see what I could do at this age, and can you bring me into the journey of how the talks went and why did you come back?
That was literally what I said. I was drinking too much, and I know it was getting out of control. Once you drink 14, 15 bottles of wine every day, you go like, oh, that's a lot, So, and then they offered me a fight. Do you want to fight? Who do you want to fight? I say, Hickson. if I fight, then let's see if we can fight Excellent Gracie. He wants too much money. I said, you guys find a guy, I fight anybody. I don't really care. Tank Abbott, good, fight him. And then it became Kimo Leopoldo, it became. But Kimo, as we know, he has a problem, and his problem was performing enhancing drugs. So like 5 or 6 days before the fight, he got caught with performing enhancing drugs. And I told him, I said, I don't mind. I like this because for me, it's only good. These guys, they focus on power. They're very strong the first 3 minutes, and then it's going to go, and I'm going to look really good in those after 3 minutes. But of course, they didn't want to do it. Now they had to find a new guy. Then there was the Tank Abbott story, but he just wanted $2 million, and he doesn't want to fight me. That's another story I can't really say, but trust me, he doesn't want to fight me. He tried something one time, and it really backfired for him when I got in his face. But I'm going to leave that alone because otherwise I open a whole new freaking act here.
I still want to know the story, Bas. You cannot say, hey, don't tell me B. You know that.
So, yeah, let me think about it. Maybe the fourth time when I come on, maybe we'll...
It's okay, it's okay.
So, what were we talking about? What was the last thing? I lost my track of thought.
2006, you said they were looking for the opponent.
Yeah, for the opponent. And then thankfully, Ruben Villarreal came in. And I remember Don Fry calling me the day before, and he says, dude, the guy can take a hit. I go, what do you mean? He says, I just fought him. He beat me. I go, really? He didn't knock you out? I go, okay, that's good. I said, I'll try a few shots. I can't really because I had a rip out of my chest. So I couldn't really torque. I couldn't hit it back for the last 2.5 weeks because if I would connect, it would hurt so bad. So I could only do a little bit of shadow boxing. I couldn't grapple anymore because everything you turn, that's the freaking rip. Then they said they would allow me to put lidocaine in between. And then as soon as I brought the doctor into the place and he opened his syringes back, they got crazy and they go like, oh, we didn't say that. I go, dude, we're filming a documentary. I got everything. I got you on film saying it's okay. You want me to rewind? No, we got it. Okay, come on, don't stop making these stories up. They had to pull the syringe out of my chest. Syringe out of my chest? I mean, he didn't even open it up and they were already there. We have it on film. I mean, how can you make up these crazy stories? You see, this is how people work. It's really weird. Anyway, I figured the adrenaline will take care of that problem. Once the pain, that will be gone. But yeah, I hit him a few times really hard. Actually, what's the first thing he said? He said, man, you're fast. And I go, thanks. And then I hit him again. And he goes, and you hit really hard. I go, well, not enough. You're still standing, right? So then what I told Don, I said, I'm going to try 3-4 punches. If the head's too hard, I'll do low kicks. If that doesn't work, I'll take his ass down and I'll go for a submission. So thankfully, the game plan 2 worked. The low kick worked. And I got him out of there.
That's amazing, Bas. I think what's funny is because actually you were done. Like you even maybe in life you were within the alcohol with living unhealthy. Something gave you, okay, I need to do something about it. Then you come back, and I think it describes you as a fighter a lot that you can come back after a while, even living unhealthy just for a period of time. Okay, you switch it up and then beat someone like that. I think it deserves all the flowers you can give. So that's a big compliment to you.
Yeah, but it wasn't like I was not going to fight a top 10 guy, right? But still, but at least it worked. It did. And at 42, I felt really good. It was too bad all the injuries came back, but physically, that was the moment for me when I changed my whole eating habits. That's in 2006. That's when I started eating healthy, kept eating healthy, because the difference was just too much to go unnoticed. It was such a big difference. I go, man, why didn't I never do this before? Okay, I was winning, so it was okay. But I mean, I could have done that before as an athlete, maybe. Watch your food. But I didn't. I was a knucklehead.
Bas, talking about you as a fighter and what you've done, because a lot of people know this, but you're a UFC Hall of Famer. You were at the pinnacle of MMA back in the days. You're in the original Hall of Fame, so the OGs. If you look at your time MMA and this period of MMA, what would you say would be a fight that would have gave you the chills and would be like, okay, that's the guy I really want to fight because that could be a loss for me or it excites you? Could you name a fighter who would give you that feeling?
Yeah, that would Pereira, Adesanya, strikers like that, just to see what I can do. I would love to spar with him. If I wouldn't have had my neck, I would have already sparred with Alex because I've seen him a bunch of times at karate company. He always comes to support his sister, and then we go to the gym, and of course we train. But I can't spar with my neck. But I wish I didn't have my neck, because I would love to spar with him. And I'm not saying I'm better. I'm just saying I just want to see, you know. And guys like that, I would really, love to see what I could do. It like utmost respect. There's another thing in my mind that I'm saying it because I'm going to kill him. Absolutely not. Just because they're really great strikers. It's so tricky. Like Adesanya, we're trying to schedule a time for the podcast. I almost had him here in Houston. It's a 3-hour drive, but we just couldn't make it work, because I want to dive in that guy's head. I want to see how he became that. You know, is it like Raymond Daniels or something? You know, they have these things with video games, and do they use the video games in their fighting styles? And, you know, the rope-a-doping that he was doing, right, against Pereira. I mean, and my buddy says it. He says he's rope-a-doping. I go, no, boom, that was the shot. I go, dude, you see, that stuff, like a DJ Dillashaw, you know, and Dominic, the footwork, people like that, like Cruz, I just really enjoy. But there's so many, like we talked about Dakota already, you know. The females also are animals. I wish that Nunes was still there. You know, she was such a grinder and such a powerful lady. It was cool. And Lucia Riker, you know, how cool would have been if she was born 30 years later? We would have freaking seen some crazy stuff right now. I mean, I remember her, man. Did I ever tell that story?
No, I don't think so. I didn't think we talked about Lucia.
Okay, so Lucia's 17, I believe. She's fighting the sister from Benny Urquidez in the Jaap Ede Hall in Holland. It was a big place at the time. That's where all the fights were. And we're going because I'm a big freaking Urquidez fan. But also a big Benny Urquidez fan. Not the sister so much. I didn't see too much of her. But she's 16 or 17 years old, Lucia Riker, and she fights as world champion. I go, oh my God, who is this girl, Lucia Riker? I heard a lot about her. And she knocks Urquidez's sister out so violently. It's like shin bone in the face. Then an 8-count came, boom, did the other way around, shin in the face, over. Fight was over. So 2 weeks later, maybe a week and a half later, we're in Spain with a bunch of buddies, and we're just starting Thai boxing. And I'm sitting there, we're drinking beers during the day, and suddenly I see a presence on the street. And I go, who's that? And I'm looking at you could see there was a power or something. She stood out. And I go, holy motor, it's Lucia Riker. So we call her. I say, hey, Lucia, we were just at your fight. And we're talking. I say, you want to drink something? She says, sure. She said, what do you like to drink? She says, a glass of milk. I remember. And I go, you just won. He says, yeah, I just also came back from a run. I just want to do my career first. And if I ever want to do all that stuff, I'll do that after my career. I go, wow, so smart. And then what do you guys do? Oh, we just started Thai boxing. And then I'm the guy. I went to her, hey, remember my name because I will be a world champion. And that was it. And then freaking 12 years later, I'm a world champion now, and I'm standing at the Jaap Ede Hall, and I got a tap on my shoulder, and it's Lucia. And she goes, I remember you telling me that you're going to be a world champion. I go, you do? That's freaking crazy. So now she became a friend. But she was searching for the people at home, you know, but you heard her name. But watch her fight, man. Yeah. It's scary. I mean, knocked everybody out. The only fight she lost was against the guy, because they couldn't fight opponents anymore. She was just destroying everyone. Same in boxing. She went into boxing undefeated, kickboxing undefeated. Super animal. I would have loved to see her in mixed martial arts at the age of 30. Can you imagine? That would have been something.
Yeah, would have been amazing. I watch Dream School here in Netherlands, and Lucia does an amazing job to work with kids who have trouble at home or trouble at school. So that's how I know Lucia Riker. And then I go do my research, and then I see she was a boxer, kickboxer, amazing. And I also know the story about that she got the fight with the guy, but if it's the only loss you could have is against the guy, come on, you're one of the greatest. Talking about Adesanya shortly, Bas, I also noticed that Sammy and I talked in a podcast about the rope-a-dope, that he was doing it because a lot of people thought, he's getting knocked out, but you could see clearly that he was like leaning into the cage and coming back. Adesanya is maybe one of the greatest middleweights we have seen within the UFC. A striker who comes into the UFC with 0 to none grappling at the beginning. I mean, he developed the grappling, but 0 to none grappling at the beginning. And what he has done it's absolutely insane. But would you say that for him, it's also mentally that the fights don't go his way lately? Or is it because the sports is getting to him?
I don't know. I don't know what it is. Is it I always think like a temporary focus loss or something, because he's so locked in with everything, and then sometimes he gets hit at the moment. You go like, how didn't he not see that? You know, so that could be a momentum of not focusing. That's all it needs. That's mixed martial arts, right? I mean, if you think about it, there's many ways you can win a fight. That automatically means there's many ways to lose a fight. You make one mistake, you leave an arm out, whatever it is, you leave it too low, you're going to get hit. You know, and yeah, I don't know. But he's one of those guys, like the K1 guys. He will come back, and then he knocks the next guy out again. It's almost like he can shake that off, the way he came back at Pereira, right? After getting knocked out by him. You know, that says everything. That's the fighter I want to talk to. Those are the guys, you know, who lost and come back and then win again by knockout. Those are the guys I go like, man, I love that in a fighter. And everybody actually loves that in a fighter. You always think with yourself, could I do that? You know, they say, oh, you can. We all think of ourselves that we can. I don't know. If I get knocked out and then coming back, I don't know if it will get in my head or not. You see what I mean? So at least I'm honest about that. I don't think it's very hard to shake it off. I would go train with Peter because apparently he found a way to shake it off, you know, because I always said with Peter, if he goes to the bakery to buy a bread or he goes to a fight, it's the same emotion for him. You know, it's like, he goes, oh, whatever, I'm going to do it. Oh, laughing. Oh, the fight's coming. Oh, too. Let's fight. That's Peter, you know, has the fun in everything, always happy. And that's why he performs like a freaking maniac.
Yeah, that's insane. And, you know, what I've noticed lately in MMA is also the defense. For example, Adesanya lost, so now it's not, those are not my words, but what like the casual fans say, oh, he's a bum. Pereira lost against Ankalaev. Oh, Alex Pereira is a bum. But, I mean, if you look at those guys, same for Pereira. He lost against Adesanya. He goes to a bigger weight class, becomes champion, does dominate the division. Okay, he runs into a guy who's also a great opponent in Ankalaev. Of course, it's not a shame to lose against a guy like Ankalaev, but it seems like people don't want to see their favorite fighter lose, and as soon as he loses, they're like, okay, but he was a bum anyway, so yeah, who cares? I think I think MMA sometimes has a toxic fan base because, yeah, I don't know what it is, but anyway, talking about current MMA, there's one subject that goes around every day for the past few months. Even when I was in London, everybody was waiting to talk to Dana and say, okay, Dana, when will you give us the date of Tom Aspinall versus Jon Jones? I know you're a huge Jon Jones guy. I know you respect a guy like Tom Aspinall. What do you think about that fight? And could you take me into the fight as an analyst? How do you think a fight like that would go? And what do you think of Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall as fighters?
Yeah, now the reason people are asking is these are the two greatest heavyweights now on the planet. It is. And they just want to find out who's the best one. And Aspinall is one of those guys the relationship he has with his father and how he took over the training and he quit his job and he started training and then becomes interim champion. And man, what a freaking story. The way how fast he is on his feet for a freaking heavy guy. He moves like a 185er or so. You know, I mean, he's really light on his feet, can hit really hard, great takedown defense, got ground. You know, yeah, it's going to be a problem for Jon. But then Jon is Jon. Their whole family are freak of natures, unbelievable athletes. You know, and he always finds ways, and nobody is able to do otherwise to him, pretty much, right? Ben Hamill, that was not really a loss. We all know that. So, you know, it's a tough fight. But I think if Jon lets his mind off a little tiny bit and a little pride slips in, he's going to get knocked out. This is one of those fights that he cannot make a mistake. And it's the same for Aspinall, cannot make a mistake. I would see Jones probably strike for a minute and a half to see where it goes. But if he gets countered, I think there's going to be some takedowns. He should do that anyway, you know, right away to get inside the head of Aspinall. But yeah, Aspinall, like I said, you know, I think they're the top two guys on the planet right now. And it's just a very hard fight to see that. That's going to break a lot of records in pay-per-view buys. That's what I do know.
Talking about a guy like Jon Jones, because I once saw an interview of Jon Jones when someone asked, are you a good guy trying to be bad, or are you a bad guy trying to be good? There's something about Jon Jones as a person, as a fighter, that he has this untouchable aura that you're like, okay, who is the guy within the head? Like, Would you say that's what makes Jon Jones? Because nobody can figure out who this guy is, what goes on in his head, or what's behind it? How can someone be so talented as he and keep up being unbeaten for such a long time? He's one of the guys, like Khabib, we could say, yeah, he's still unbeaten.
Yeah. I don't know. He's just his work ethic, and knowing what works. And for him, it's no repetition. There's no habits. There's no things that he does two or three times in a row. It's all something different. He will don't if he kicks on purpose. I mean, I think I talked about it with Cormier when he kicks to the body, kept doing that. That's a setup. I started from round 2. I go like, oh my God, he's going to switch it to a head kick very soon now because he's setting him up, right? Because otherwise he'll never did that. It's a round kick, then it's a left front kick, and then it's a hook, and then it's an uppercut. And it's like everything is different constantly. And these people are very hard to figure out. And then if you find certain counters to certain points, if somebody calls cross, you slip body shot, or they push you away, come back with a cross. Okay, you move out, and then you come back with you make those different as well. That's what he does as well. Like if you have the same counter the whole time, very easy to figure out. But he doesn't. It's constantly changing. Then he switches his stance. Then there's the takedown. He's a great wrestler. It's the confusion that he puts in somebody's head, and he knows he's good with it. And I don't know the way he thinks. He's actually a really good guy. I really like Jon. Also to talk with him, and he's very deep. But I think he had a lot to live up to with his unbelievable talented brothers. And maybe there comes the little cocky thing out. Which you have to have. I had it. You have to. You can't go to a fight thinking you're going to lose. That's the dumbest thing on the planet. You're going to win. Yeah, but I'm fighting. Yeah, but you're going to win, right? I mean, you don't want to start doubting yourself. That's the worst thing you can do. And then you hear these stories why he did cocaine the day before, and the reason he's doing that, then he has a way out for when he would lose the fight. Okay, so that means there's an insecurity. Is that a bad thing? No, it's not a bad thing because apparently that insecurity for him works really well in preparing for the fight. So he takes that and he has to make sure that he trains so hard that little tiny insecurity thing stays really tiny. People always talk about courage and if there's no fear, there's no courage, right? I mean, it wouldn't exist. It can only exist. Like these fighters that come out and they're crying in the dressing room. They don't want to fight, but they do it. That's courage. Because he doesn't want to do it, but he still freaking does it. You see, so people say, oh, but he was crying. You're not doing it. What are you doing? He still did it. He actually still won the freaking fight. There's a lot of fighters like that. So that I look up to. And I think with Jon, it's a tiny insecurity. Can I really be that good? But because it's there, I guarantee you it helps him really well for the training, for the preparation of the fight.
Do you think Jon Jones is the greatest fighter of all time?
Right now, yeah, I would put him in there. I think all the George St. Pierre should be in there. I think Khabib needs to be in there. I mean, there's a bunch of good guys that need to be in there. And of course, we need to see the fight between Aspinall. But then again, even if he would lose that fight, he would still go in. That's like Fedor. When he started losing a few fights, to me, he's still the greatest heavyweight. He's like a freaking nature. He's also a good guy who presents himself really well outside the cage or the pit, whatever it is. So I like people like that, and it's unfortunate that they keep on fighting and then they start tarnishing their careers. But I do have the utmost respect for them.
And then there is another fight a lot of people want to see. I think if Dana puts up Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall, and as a co-main he puts up Islam Makhachev versus Ilia Topuria, I think there wouldn't be a card who would break more records than that card. And I think Dana would see the bag he has already on his back become bigger and bigger. But how would you say that fight plays out? Because in Ilia Topuria, we have a very, very dangerous guy with insane power for a 145er. And then in Islam Makhachev, we have someone who looks untouchable, who still develops every match with his striking, with his grappling, does things. For example, the Dustin Poirier fight, the last takedown he did to go into the Darce choke. Like, how do you think that fight plays out, and what do you think of that?
Yeah, that's just a very hard fight. Makhachev, I mean, the way he comes forward, the pressure, the constant pressure which he needs to bring, the endless freaking stamina these guys have also there from Dagestan, the wrestling freaking bears. I mean, everything is about fighting there, you know. So, Topuria, he's one punch could seal the deal. Only has to land it, you know. That's a great power to have in your back pocket. But when is that moment there? because Makhachev's really good in controlling every aspect of the game. Yeah. It's a hard fight, man. This is a very hard fight. This is like, I wonder if it goes even on the card. It's one of those things. Makhachev, if he can play his role and constantly push, then he might get it, but is he going to get hit in between? And then still the submission game. Never expect you're way better at submission than somebody else. That's a big lesson. You should watch out with that. I've seen black belts getting suddenly submit because they didn't respect their opponent too much by a guy who's virtually a blue belt. You see, so it's only one moment of weakness. It's a hard fight to call, man. I have no idea. I do know what you said, that event, if that would be the main and co-main, that would be insane. It's the biggest event ever, probably.
I think that would be amazing. I honestly can't imagine a main and co-main in 2025. I would say would be bigger than that. I think it's the biggest co-main and main event you could ever do. But talking about current MMA,
as the ladies' card, also another 5-rounder on the card. Boom.
Yeah, you got it.
That's it.
You should put up 3 championship fights, then you get it. Hey, Bas, talking about current MMA and like the MMA from your time, I would say when I watch old school MMA, even if I'm talking about until 2010, it was harder. It looked harder. You guys were more tough guys, more rough guys. Like it would be more power and a bit less technical. I wouldn't say it's less. It's bad technique, but it looks less technical. Yeah. And looking at current MMA, what would you say is the biggest difference between your time and the MMA now? What makes the biggest difference?
Now it's really a sport. Now it became really a sport of its own. Now it's mixed martial artists. Now you have the guys who know everything good. Like in the past, I would fight a guy who's really good on the ground, striking not so much, or who's really good on the striking but not on the ground. So there was always these guys who had these powers. And I figured really early out that stamina is the main key factor. So I started combining, and I also realized that the cross training was everything. Because if I do just jiu-jitsu, and then I do just do wrestling, and I do just do striking, I don't get tired. Once I mix it, that's when you get really tired. Okay, so let's keep mixing it because that's what I'm going to do. So I found out all these bodyweight exercises that if you on a bag, if you're hitting a bag for 5 minutes, and you put every 15 seconds, there's a thing called defense. You have to sprawl, get back up, and boom, boom, boom. Just that. Or every 10 seconds, or 10, 15 seconds, a defense. That will completely interrupt your breathing pattern. You're going to get super tired. It's a big difference between just boxing or suddenly when they start adding a takedown defense. You see, so I started doing that early on now, and I figured out if I'm really good on the ground and really good on the feet, it's going to be okay. Wrestling, I never really wanted to go in there because in order for me to become good at it, I had to really push it, and most injuries sustain always in wrestling. So I figured, what am I going to do? Maybe I'm not going to do it. So I have the 15 submission victories that I have. I never took anybody down, so that meant they took me down, and then I would go for a submission. So that was what I had. Nowadays, it's weight classes, and everybody understands all 3 aspects. So everybody is good everywhere. Now they watch what they eat, their food. They sleep. They're sleeping in hyperbaric chambers. They do, hyperbaric and high altitude chambers. They're doing so much right now. It became a sport, a professional sport, and everything is way more structured. And I love the weight classes, although I've been 15 years talking about a cruiserweight. That's what we need, like a 230 or something, or a 235, because the leap is way too big, 205 to 265. Come on, man. If you're like 215 pounds, you can't make 205, and you face a guy like Ngannou who probably on the day of the fight is 285 or 280, who is a black belt, who has got great footwork, has stamina. That's not a fun fight, if a guy like that is on top of you with 50, 70 pounds extra. Not good. So that's the difference between us and here. Now it's much better, technically as well.
But still, what I've noticed is there's one problem we have seen like 10, 20. Okay, I'm almost 30, so I can't talk 30 years ago. I can't talk until 15 years ago. But we still have a lot of mistakes within judges. And now in MMA, we see it a lot. We see Dana talk about it openly, that he's like, come on, guys, what's happening? Why do you think the judges still make mistakes, even though we now have been doing MMA for like on TV for 30, 35 years? So why do you think there's still so many mistakes as a judge?
I have no clue. It's like it's easy You know, if they can go around by just doing the minimum amount of work, that's minimalism, right? That's a lot of people live like that. You know, you got hedonism is seeking of pleasures, and minimalism is doing the least amount of work for the most amount of time, money. Yeah. And I think really that's it. I think that as a UFC, as an organization, as a global umbrella for mixed martial arts, there should be penalties, even for judges. They should be, okay, you're going to get a red card for that, because everybody agreed that was completely out of safe. Now start brushing up on your skills and get better, because if it happens a second time, maybe take it away for half a year or whatever it is. Or call it a yellow card, then a red card is out for a year, whatever it is. But they need to start doing that, because some guys, they get their careers destroyed by bad judging. You know, and everybody says, oh, but people will know in the future. People don't know. They look at your record, and 30 years from now, you just lost that fight. Nobody's going to say, but officially they thought he won. And it doesn't have any power anymore. So you're messing with somebody's career, you know, and it's a shame. And that's judging. And then you have the refs. The refs are so invested, you have no idea. I've seen a guy in the morning, I will not mention his name, with Karate Combat, like literally sit by himself at breakfast. And I go, oh, dude, you okay? Because I can tell, he said, man, did I did the right call yesterday? I think you still could have. Freaking tears in his eyes, you know. They don't want that. You know, don't blame it on the referee. The referee is there to protect you. That's why the referee is there. And yes, they're human. They make mistakes, you know. But please know that these guys, it kills them if they make a wrong mistake. It really does, because I talk to them a lot. So judges, they need to be brushing up. And a referee, well, if he does make a mistake like that, I'll guarantee he'll never, you don't have to teach him, tell him, he'll never make that mistake again, because it gets to them a lot.
Yeah, we saw it with, for example, Mark Goddard. He walked to Adesanya like, I'm sorry, man, you know, I didn't want to, that it looked too early, and Adesanya said, come on, you're standing there, I don't blame you anything, you're doing your job, I'm doing my job, you have to protect us, it is what it is. Yeah. But I think, as you say, a judge is a completely different story, because you're sitting cage. I once mentioned, I said, I think the best thing for a judge would be to sit in a closed room, no sound, no anything, just watching the fight, just only watching the details of the fight and judge based on it. Because if you're in a crowd, let's say, for example, you and me are fighting, which is never going to happen because I would get crushed, but let's say you and me are fighting, and a lot of people like you and they dislike me. So every time you punch me, they would be yelling and woo, woo, all the sounds. But every time I punch you, it will be quiet. And that I also think makes a difference in the judging. Do you agree?
100%. And also the commentators, you know. A commentator might have a wrong thing, and you get fixated too much a little bit on that. And then you start listening to that person because you respect the commentator, and then you start thinking, hey, well, that could be true. That could be. You start trying to make it true in your mind while it's not true. You know, I have watched fights also afterwards that I thought I did a perfect job, and then later on I said, ooh, I didn't see that. And with France, it's hard, because I always get, of course, if like a Quentin Jackson fights against a Wanderlei Silva, I'm actually promoting more Wanderlei Silva than I do Quentin Jackson, because I know that everybody knows he's a friend of mine. So then Quentin even comes to me after the fight. He goes like, dude, what are you talking about him the whole time? Like, dude, I have to, because otherwise people say, oh, he loves Quentin. I try to be as in the middle as I can, but it's very hard, you know. And but I think it's very important. So I don't know what they need yellow cards and red cards. That's why I truly believe it needs to happen.
I will definitely remember that. Hey, Bas, of course, I opened up some for the listeners, and they said, I said, do you have any questions for Bas? Because everybody, like I said, thinks you're amazing and still does think you're amazing. But there were some questions, and one of them was, and I'm curious to know what you would say, and especially with the heavyweight division, who would be your greatest heavyweights? You mentioned Fedor. Who would you say are what makes a heavyweight great? Because we usually watch heavyweights and they have great power, but what would you say makes a heavyweight a great fighter?
Yeah, you see, that's I do. I think I go with like the Mirko Krokop and the Fedor Emelianenko, like those times. For me, I judge people on what they were, and at that time when it was like he was like 28-0 with one loss, which was of a cut that he rectified right away with the rematch. She was kind of undefeated. But also the way he behaves outside and the way he speaks to people, and he's so calm. Like if I'm amped up and Fedor will be in a bus, I'll just sit next to Fedor. and then you're automatic. It's like sitting next to Lyoto Machida. You immediately get calm. These guys, they have that very calm feeling, and it's great to be in that aura, so to say, from these guys. So that's why I really like him. And then his brother's completely the opposite, crazy guy, but also great. And Fedor always told me that his brother beats him up in training. I go, that's crazy, But then again, we know how this goes. There's some people who, they're good in training and they can't perform under pressure. And there's people who have exactly the opposite. For me, I feel better once I'm fighting than when I'm training. It's like I have more, I don't know, I see more. I don't know.
Yeah, we have the gym heroes. The gym heroes. Do you think that's only pressure so that people, for example, I heard a lot of stories about Alexander Rakic, who's a great light heavyweight. If you look at him technically, he looks great. His stand-up, his physique, everything looks great. But when you see him fight, there's still some doubts. But when I hear stories about him in the gym, they say, honestly, the hardest working guy we have seen in the gym, most talented guy. How come we see the difference between people who are great in the gym and people who are great at fighting?
It's a hard one, man. It changed my life. While I was fighting, and I think I went over the story, my first fight in Japan, that literally during the fight I was going, what is going on? Literally talking to myself because I'm so relaxed. I'm so calm. And I go, wow, and I heard an Australian couple talking at the first row about a move they were going to make to Melbourne or something. It was funny because later I told him, I say, I don't know if you should do that move. He goes, you're listening? I go, I don't know why. I have no clue why, but I was completely focused. And that got me. And for me, it was the 30-minute fights with a 33-pound heavier opponent. So I knew that I can't go crazy in the beginning because if I can't put him away, I got like 29 more minutes to go against the guy. So I need to get into the focus, and that made me fight like I was fighting in the gym. I think the problem is with guys like that, because I had that, they suspect that I'm going to be the next champ, the next big champ. And in kickboxing at that time, it wouldn't have been me, trust me, because I didn't have that yet. I was too aggressive, And what they should have told me at the time, like if I see this and everybody starts talking about a certain fighter in my gym, I immediately stop that. I say, shut up, he's not a champion, shut up. And I get inside his head. I go, dude, this is the worst thing because now if he brings that pressure, I need to win. And you bring that to the fight, everybody's expecting me to win. And that's when people lock up. And then it goes wrong, But if you just let him go, then it's okay. So the story that I always use, I made a video of this actually, where I said it, is if somebody's really nervous before his fight, I always tell him, what if he walks in now? This is 2 weeks before the fight. He walks in right now, we put you in that room, we lock the door, there's no windows, no nothing, you guys fight. But you're not allowed to say who lost or who won. Would you care if you would lose? And 100% answer always comes back, no, I wouldn't care. So that means you're fighting for somebody else. You're not fighting for yourself. You're fighting for the people, to please the people. Once you do that, you can never win. Even when you win, you can never win. They're going to spit you out after 3 losses. We just talked about that. You see, so don't do that. Fight for your peers. Fight for your fighter friends who know what it is to be there and to do it. Now, if you quit, they will not respect that. If you give it everything you got, and even if it's not pretty, they will freaking love that. So it's very simple. If you're a fighter, you just fight. And even if the guy's going to win, who's going to have to work for it, every other fighter will respect you. And that's why I tell people, I said, don't listen to people. They have no clue what a gym looks like. Why would you care about a person who says, oh, he's nobody, and he never stepped into a gym. He watches a boxing movie from Rocky and he thinks he can box. There's a lot of people out there who can do that, who believe that. So once you start cutting it down, we never had that. I didn't have social media. We didn't have people try to go through our skin. And that's what a lot of fighters have to deal with now. And unfortunately, they listen to them. And I go, why would you listen to a person who you don't know, who might just has a fake account, goes after you for some freaking reason? I mean, whatever it is, you like blue, I like green. Why would you fight about that? Right? He doesn't like you. So what? But somehow, man, fighters have thin skin and they need to feel to react. And then you bring that with you, the pressure. And the pressure is never good. That's why I say never tell people, oh, my opponent's a nobody, I'm going to knock him out, I'm going to do this. Don't say that. Don't do that. Because now you made your opponent a nobody. So if you win, you beat a nobody, first of all. And second of all, now when they call you up, you see yourself on the big screen saying, oh, the guy's nothing. Now you better do what you just said, what you're going to do. And all that will create pressure on you. So in the beginning when you're fighting, don't do that. Wait till you're in your game and you say, oh, okay. This is the time I started to feel like I'm in training. And once you feel that, then you can start experimenting with saying crazy stuff or doing stuff. If you're into that, I never was, but then you can try it out. But don't do that too soon because you better live up to what you said.
Hey, Bas, we mentioned this the second time when we were talking about your student who was going into his first jiu-jitsu match. Then you also told this, I remember now. But I think even if you tell us stories 100 times, people still love your stories. I've a few final questions. Do you think we will get, when we look at Dutch MMA in general, so not about fighters, but in general, how come we are great at kickboxing, but in MMA, I feel like we have there's still a difference between the better countries. For example, I was in London with the UK guys. They have amazing fighters already. I was in France. They have amazing fighters. Even Spain is doing great. How come we in the Netherlands still not have we have a couple fighters, of course, who are doing great, but it's not, the amount is not that big as the other countries. Where do you think is the main problem?
I think again, it's pride and it's doing things that you love to do and don't want to steer away from it. If you go to a gym and you just beat everybody up standing, but if you go to the ground, it's going to beat you up. You'd rather take the first one because it's nice to beat people up instead of looking down. I did the opposite. I said, I want you to try to beat me up on the ground. I want to become so good on the ground they can't beat me anymore because then, there's like I said at the beginning of this interview, they can all do it. They just have to do it. Gegard did it. Freaking Alistair did it. Alistair pulled off submissions as well. So there's guys who do it and then become successful. So you simply look at the person and you go like, hey, what was his trick? Well, he knew it all. Okay, since it's part of our job, maybe I should learn the ground game. What about that? It's like being a painter and you bring the brush. You don't bring the brush. It makes no sense, Or you bring half a can of paint. No, full can of paint, full stamina. That's how you need to go to a fight. You see, it's all, you need to do it. But doing it, it's going to put you in the first 4 months not in a good spot because they will beat you up. But, make fun of it. That's what I did. I mean, I got submitted. And then I remember my very first time at Chris Dolban and I pulled him in an armbar. And I got up, that was my first armbar. And I go, yeah. And then like within a year later, I was standing at the restroom somewhere in some club in Amsterdam peeing. And then suddenly a guy next to me, he was the guy. He goes, I remember you when you got me an armbar. I go, dude. So he says, you were so excited. And now you get everybody. I go, yeah, because I told myself. When I came home and everybody tore me apart, my wife says, oh, so this is it? I said, no. Within 6 months, I'll tap everybody there. You watch. And I did. I went back. And then I started going. See, so it's... And again, it's not me because I'm so special. It's just me because I put the work in it. If you would see my house, it's Post-its with combinations. It's little things hanging from the ceiling that I'm hitting at certain spots. There's 2 lines on the floor where I'm always standing on. Moving from the kitchen to the... Not now anymore because I'm not fighting, but in the days I was always doing that. To every room I went, there was 2 lines on the floor, shoulder width. Everything was about fighting. Waking up my wife, dreaming a submission, put her in a submission, right down. And next day in the gym, over and over again. And you do that, everybody becomes good. But you need to put the time in. That's the only thing. And once it clicks, this is the thing. In the beginning, it doesn't click. And you get beat, you get reversed. It's super annoying. But there's that one special ingredient. And for me, it was the dumbest thing on the planet. It was so stupid. For me, so I was sitting on somebody, a mount position. I put an arm around his neck. And then he reversed me. And then he was in that position. And he said, you remember what I did to you? I said, no. He said, well, I trapped your arm on this side. And then I trapped your leg with my leg also on that side. So that side cannot post out anymore. And because it can't post out anymore, I can simply push you to that side. And I'm sitting there and I go, what? And how did I never see this? How could I? And that was it. I don't know what happened. I think I tapped once in my life in class. After that, I start tapping everybody. Apparently, that thing applied to every submission out there. I started heel hooking. I go, where is this coming from? And it was a reversal. It was not even a submission. It was the dumbest, weirdest thing. I started escaping every situation because now I'm waiting. Now I'm just laying on the ground, exposing my neck, put an arm around my neck. You put an arm around my neck, within half a second you're reversed. Because I was doing it over and over and over again. You see, so that was it. And then once it clicks, now you love it. And once you love something, you're going to do it a lot. And once you do a lot, you become really good. And that's it. That's literally it. That's the steps you have to go through. But once you go through them, you do the same thing.
Yeah, that's yeah. I guess I can. I've been listening to you for now about 1.5 hours, and now I've been listening more to you because I think in total we've been talking for 5 hours through the podcast, if it's not more. And actually, every time you say something, I can only say, okay, it's true. And it's also, of course, your experience. You've seen it all. You've done it all. You've lost. You've won. You've become champion. You retired. Then you came back. So yeah, I get it. Hey, Bas, before I close this, we always have the remaining question. It is, what would be something you would tell the listeners to do in life, to do when practicing? I know you said keep doing it, but what would be the main thing you would tell someone who's listening to the podcast, just in general, in life, in everything?
I would say whatever you tell yourself to do that. And if you don't, you just lie to yourself. Now, let's break that down, right? So tomorrow morning, if you told myself that I'm going to work out tomorrow morning, I better work out. Because if I don't work out, I just became a weaker person. Because every time I say I'm going to do something and I don't do it, I become weaker mentally. It is. That's just, but once you wake up and you actually do it, it's hard at the beginning. And it's hard the second time. It's hard the third time. And then suddenly it starts to become normal. And now it becomes a habit. And once it becomes a habit, it becomes normal. But as easy as it is to get that habit, that's how easy it is to lose that habit again. So you got to watch out. You got to stick to your habit. Even if you're very sick and you don't want to work out 20 minutes. Do something. Roll. Be busy with it. But do what you said you were going to do. Today I'm not going to drink 1 glass of alcohol. Well, then you're not going to drink a glass of alcohol. And then at 4 o'clock when I drank 1 beer, I almost can't sleep. I drive myself nuts. I drank 1 beer. That's completely good. I can drink 1 beer. No, I can't. Because I told myself I was not going to do it, and I still do it. You see, and that I used in my training. Today I'm going to do 12 rounds on the back. And if I didn't do 12 rounds, oh boy. You know, it would always play out the same. And always, I'm saying it's maybe 3 times, I think. It happened 1 time in America, 2 times in Holland. In where I go home, and I didn't do my 12 rounds, and then it's 10 o'clock at night, I'm in bed, and suddenly I go out, put my gear on, go to the gym, and I'm going to do my 12 rounds. Probably do 15, because I didn't do the 12. I can't let it go. I have to do it then. You see, and once you program yourself to do whatever you said that you were going to do, you're going to be good. Today I'm not going to lie. That seems like an easy one, really? Well, until you have a wife who says, hey, does this dress make me look fat? And then, you know, what are you going to say? Because if it does, you're going to lie or not? No, but little things like that. And I start doing that with everything. And suddenly your life becomes much more dependable. Every time you let yourself down, you become a little bit less unhappy. And I have that with working out. I don't want to work out. Everything hurts. I don't want to work out anymore. I do it. But I do it because I know the feeling that I have afterwards. And I feel much better. I function much better. My mind is much better. If I have to memorize whole scripts, if I do this 1 paragraph, that takes me 12 minutes. If I worked out that morning, I do it at 5. That's the big difference with working out. But people have to do it. I don't have the time. Look at your screen time. Probably 8 hours a day. Take 1 hour of that and start working out. Do something. That's the only thing. And if I say do something, don't go a full workout, full blast right away. No, do 1 set of everything. 1 set, nice and relaxed. So the next day you're not walking around with muscle aches everywhere, and that will steer you away from going back to the gym. Baby steps. Why do you need to be in super shape in a week? I have no clue. There's no fight, no nothing. Make it a journey. Don't make it a freaking fight. You know, make it a journey. Take your freaking time. Take 6 months. Dude, I have pictures here. And maybe I've never showed you. We had this tournaments at my gym. I'm going to try it out. Yes. Try it out here. Favorites. So I saved this picture because this was a woman who won the first gym challenge. So if you want a gym challenge, this is 6 weeks. What we do, you sign up. If you win from the 15 or 20 latest, whatever there, the first 3 get free memberships for a year, and you can be training there. The only thing you have to buy, it's like $50. You have to buy a pair of gloves, a pair of shins, and then for 6 weeks we will help you also with your food. This is a woman who actually gained 1.5 pounds. This is 100% true, the result. This is 6 weeks.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And she won.
It is.
And I say, if this somebody can do in 6 weeks, that means that you can do that too. It's just doing it, but that's the problem. We all want it faster. That's my O2 trainer, right? I work out my breathing muscles. Everybody stops within 5 days. It doesn't work. I don't feel a difference. In 5 days, you've tried to find a difference? So you can go to the gym and you can transform your body in 5 days? Can you really do that? You've been breathing incorrectly for your entire life, from the age of 5.5 till what you're now. 90% of us, 95% is breathing incorrect. And you try to fix that in 5 days? Come on, guys, give it 6 weeks. And after 6 weeks, you'll never stop again because the increase is dramatic, but it takes that first. Everybody wants it right away. And that's the thing. Baby steps, tell yourself what you're going to do, and don't break that word. And once you do that, you're going to shine, you 100%, but you have to do it. That's the thing.
Honestly, about the breathing, Bas, we talked about it in the last podcast, and you told us that when you're a baby, you breathe the correct way. Now, me as a new dad, I noticed right away, no joke, I thought about you because I saw him breathing for the first time, and the way you asked me and Sammy, okay, guys, breathe in, breathe out, and we did completely. We thought we did the right thing by putting our shoulders and leaving down. But when I look at him and the way he breathes, I immediately thought, that's what Bas meant.
Yep,
it's completely different to the way.
100%. That's diaphragmatic. They only breathe above the diaper. And that's where they should breathe, only expanding. And that's the perfect breath. And that's we lose once we're 5.5 age, you go to school and all that bullcrap, and we start losing it because the opposite sex might think I'm fat if I breathe through my belly, and we start adjusting our breathing. That's literally one of the reasons that we stop breathing the perfect way. We're the only mammal in the world that breathes incorrectly. Every other one breathes correctly. It's insane. And the difference, if you find out that every endurance athlete for the Olympics is doing it, inspiratory muscle training, maybe you should pay attention to that. Maybe if Usain Bolt does it, what does he do? Maximum runs to 400 meters? And why does he need that? Well, if he does it every single day, maybe that should tell you something. But people are people, man. Knuckleheads, they don't get it.
Bas, where can people get the O2 trainer within Europe?
You go to o2trainer.eu. That's actually a friend of mine who had asthma, and I sent him one because my asthma was gone in 3.5 weeks. And he called me 8 days later. He goes, dude, my asthma is gone because I didn't tell him what was going to happen. And I go, exactly. I said, the same happened to me. So he's selling him in Europe right now. He goes, dude, I want to sell him here. So, o2trainer.eu. That's where you can get those.
And for the American listeners, o2trainer.com.
And we have now also the Buy with Prime button on our website. So that means if you go to Amazon, you can click and right away you have it the next day. You can also do this on our website right now. So you can go to the website if you want it the next day, click Buy with Prime, poof, and then immediately it's going to be sent out to you. And please, if you just do it. I just had a priest and I told him, he said, hey, the O2 trainer, why can't I best get it? I said, this and this website. I said, but if you're doing it, I'll send you one. And he says, you know what? I'm selling books. I do all these things myself. I know how it goes. I'll buy it. I want to buy it because I respect it more. And he's right. Because 95% of the people I send it to for free don't do it. Because it's a gift and it's not as valuable. Yeah, exactly. So now with friends, what I do, I say, yeah, you can have fun. Give me $50. And they look at me, what? I say, I put the $50 in an envelope. I put your name on it. And in 6 weeks, I'm going to call you. And if you did it in 6 weeks, I'll get you the envelope back. But if you didn't do it, I'm going to keep the freaking money. That's what I'm going to do. So that's my new rule right now because it's insanity. From the 150 that I give away, maybe 15 use them. It's nothing. It's bizarre. You call them back after 3 months and nobody's doing it. So,
I mean, that's insane. For the guys listening, honestly, I talked to Bas about it. I even read some papers Bas sent us, and I talked about it. Read it. If it can help you, use it. Check out the O2 trainer. Bas, closing this podcast, I want to thank you a lot because our subscribers recently went through the roof because of the clip where you call people stupid because they don't use palm strikes instead of fist. And it has been watched over, I think now 15 million times in total. Yeah. So you've called 50 million people stupid because they use punches instead of palm strikes?
Well, and after they listened, they realized they were stupid because it makes total sense once you break it down, you know? That's a good thing. A lot of people... No, but people, you can never say something to me about my technique. I challenge you. I do this at seminars. If you say you have find a better way, show it to me, and if it's better, I'm going to use it. Not only that, I'm going to mention your name every single time I'm going to teach it. But till this day, nobody's been able to do it. So, but the challenge is there because I'm very meticulous with everything I do. I break everything down. Every little freaking breath I break down. So I try to be as accurate as I can.
And the second most used comment was, so, whoa, since when has Sean Connery become a fighter? Because the last podcast, you had a heavy beard, and so people were calling you Sean Connery. So you can also take that one.
Dude, when they asked me, and you can watch it, all interviews, they always said to me, who do you look up to? Who would you want to look like when you're older? I always said Sean Connery. And now people start saying that. I go, dude, I freaking love it. Freaking Sean Connery, man. He's the man. That movie, The Rock, right?
Yeah.
And Alcatraz with Nicolas Cage. Yeah, he's a badass. I like that guy.
Bas, thank you very much again for your time. We'll talk a little bit after I close the podcast in Dutch, so you can show me the Dutch accent again. But thank you very much for your time. You're an amazing guy. What you've done for us as a podcast, as a small starting podcast in the Netherlands, I think a lot of people could look up to you because there have been fighters, I won't mention names, who haven't done anything yet, who said to us, you're too small. Guys, listen, a legend. Excuse my French, I'm going to say it. A fucking legend as Bas Rutten. A Hall of Famer came into Buiten de Kooi, gave us a chance, and now he's here for the third time. And I hopefully a fourth, fifth, and maybe one time we'll meet in real life and we'll do it again. But thank you a lot, Bas. For the people listening, check out Bas's socials. He still posts his amazing fights once in a while. Talks about it. He posts about the O2 trainer if you want to know more. To the listeners, thanks again for listening. Like, subscribe. Follow us on Spotify. Leave a comment. If you want to say anything about Bas's looks, tell him. If you want to say anything about Bas's technique, send him a DM. Show him it's better. If it's better, he will mention you. If not, keep your mouth shut. Anyway, Bas, again, thank you very much. And again, you're an amazing guy. Thank you a lot.
You're very welcome. And all those fighters who said you were too small, I guess they never were amateurs then, right? They just suddenly were the champion. And nobody helped them on that way. That's how they should think. They should think, I was there when I started. Maybe I should help those people to get where we went. You see? Come on, guys. See, that's another thing. Once they say that, I don't think they're the full package. I truly don't believe. Now, if I go to a show, they have 13 followers, it's a different thing if it's going to take out of my time. You know, but if you have intelligent guys asking intelligent questions about the sport that I love so much, you know, of course I do it for you guys. I love it.
Thank you very much, Bas. And I don't want to bash any fighters because I get it. You're on your high. You're on your prime. You want to be the best in the world. But I had to mention it once. And I know Sammy, my former co-host, is going to text me, bro. You shouldn't have done that. I know, Sammy. you were always the smarter guy between us two. But you know, I had to say it. So, Bas, again, thank you very much. We'll talk a bit. And to the people listening, thank you all for listening. And like, subscribe, and throw a comment. Thank you all.